Hello friends, Chris Coursey here, president of THRIVEtoday. And you know what? I'm the author of the new book, The Joy Switch, and I'm very excited about this new resource. This book is a great way to learn about your brain's relational circuit and learn how to live with this part of your brain engaged and discover the importance of relational skills and how, as we learn relational skills, we can stay more relationally connected and hold on to our joy. So I wanted to share a little bit about what was going on in my life when I was trying to write this book. So you see, this book was originally supposed to be released next year in 2022. But this window of opportunity arrived, and the publisher reached out and they said, Chris, would you be interested in moving your book up? Would you be interested in writing this book now instead of waiting for a year? You know what? I like the idea of that. But I knew there was a very tight window to write this book. So Jen and I prayed. We just said, Lord, what would you have us do here? Is this something you want me to do now, or should I wait? And we both felt like God was giving us the green light. So I agreed and I accepted the opportunity to write my book sooner. Well, you know what? Just about on the day that I agreed to write this book, that is when the quarantine went into effect. So the coronavirus basically shut the world down. And what this meant was my two very sweet and energetic sons were going to be home all the time. And you know what? That was actually really cool to have them home. But when you're trying to write a book, and I'm easily distractible, I found it really hard to try to focus on this book when I could hear them playing or wrestling or climbing the wall and all the crazy things that they like to do. It was hard to focus on this book, in addition to just the stuff that was going on in our world. I was very concerned about what was happening, and I was concerned for a lot of my friends, family, and communities that I know. So that was an interesting factor that made it a little more harder to stay relational while I write a book about staying relational. But you know what else happened is I had my back pain was actually much worse for a season. And so I've been in this process of dealing with a back injury for several years now. And about the time the quarantine went into effect and I just started to write this book, my back pain was actually worse. So trying to sit at my desk and focus while I'm in back pain was not easy. Pain is one of the ways your relational circuit can go off. So that was interesting. So I've got the noise with my son's home and just kind of that craziness with what the world was going through. And I'm in back pain. So it's already becoming difficult to stay relational. And there's more. So I had some friends in my life at that time who just weren't glad to be with me. They were very upset with me and making it known that my friends were upset with me. And you know what? I'm someone who feels deeply and who cares deeply. I'm a compassionate person. And just navigating that terrain and just feeling some strain in some of my relationships was really hard. That was very hard for me to keep my relational circuit on, because just thinking about some of that would cause my relational circuit to go off. And I talk about that in the book. So I had the strain with relationships. I had this back pain and I had the quarantine. It was not easy. And in fact, we had just gotten a new puppy, which was really going to be good for the joy levels in our family. But have you ever tried to train a new puppy? Let me tell you, they think the living room is their bathroom. And I can remember many days I would let the dog out and it would not go to the bathroom, but I'd bring her in and she goes to the bathroom in the house. Now that's all part of the process of training a new puppy. But you know what? It was one more thing that I noticed was kind of weighing on me. And trying to write a book about staying relational was not easy under those conditions. But there was a silver lining here. It's amazing how God can redeem these things. Because what happened was I wrote with a level of transparency and authenticity probably more than I've ever had, because I was living out what I was writing. In fact, the exercises were created because I needed to do the exercises in order for me to stay relational, because when your relational circuit goes off, you lose creativity. There's no creativity when you're in enemy mode. So it was very interesting for me realizing, wow, my relational circuit is off. I've got the pressure of this deadline. I've got all this other stuff going on. it was easy for my brain circuit breaker to go off. But what was neat was how I could practice those exercises to shift back in relational mode. And I have to say, it worked. And those exercises worked. So this book was written with integrity. And looking back on it, I think it was actually a gift that God allowed these things to play out so that I could write a book from my heart and I could live it while I was writing it and even create those 19 exercises that are in that book. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't already, check out my book and see if you can relate to some of what I talk about in that book. But more importantly, try the exercises, practice with friends, and watch what happens.